You can clap if you want.
There we go. Just
See,
for syncing.
The funny thing is Discord doesn't pick it up. It's so Discord's noise cancellation is so good. Yeah. Cool. Mr. Kurtigram, how's it going, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. We just had a little bit of a pre-show chat, and life is busy at the moment for both of us. Last time I saw you, I can't actually fathom how much you had on your plate, like how big of a week you had here in Melbourne. We haven't done a pod since then, have we?
Nah.
Nah. So do you want to just like give us like the 30-second version of all the shit that you had on at once?
Yeah, so I think it's the equivalent to like the Sizzler buffet, right? Where it's all you can eat. So it's like it's all you can eat, right? And you think you can eat more than you actually can. So you just keep loading your plate, and then there's the ice cream. You know, you go back for 10 different bowls of ice cream, and in the end you feel sick. So I think after that week in Melbourne, you know, it was the I couldn't eat everything and come home sick. You know what I mean? But it was a busy week, just a big week with Fox Sports, and then a Fox Sports event for the women's golf, and then got stuck in Melbourne for another day just because of the flooding on the Gold Coast and in Brisbane. So the airport kind of wasn't operational, so then it just took longer. And yeah, I'm not going to complain about it taking longer because, you know, I was safe. You know, my house wasn't flooded. So, yeah, I was just appreciative that I had a bed for the night. You know, we booked a hotel and, you know, just it was added another, you know, 12, 15 hours to the trip. So it's fine. All in all, I got home and then next day got back into it. Joel and I actually flew. So we got home from Melbourne, and then the next day we flew to Airlie Beach to do the North Queensland Cowboys, and then I came home the next day, and then I had Cara and I shot a wedding up at Noosa, so then it was like a 3-hour drive, and then we got home at about 2 a.m. and then I had to be at on the Gold Coast again to do the Titans for Fox at like 9 a.m. So it was all right. I mean, I didn't really get any sleep or anything, but for some reason I was just running on adrenaline. Like I still feel so like alert and awake, which is it doesn't happen often. You know, usually if you work 20 days in a row and they're just massive days, like you get really burnt out. But I guess having a team around you, kind of you can, like, you know, steal each other's energy just to kind of keep you going. But yeah, so yeah, it's been a busy fortnight, I would say.
That's a beautiful place to finish, to segue into this episode, because I want to talk a little bit about assisting this episode. And I was lucky enough to, you know, come and hang out with you guys on your shoots in Melbourne. And you did sort of brush over very quickly, you know, your week in Melbourne. It wasn't just a couple of days shooting over the week. It was every day, and I was speaking to you some of the nights, and you had finished your day of shooting and you went to another shoot in the night time. Plus the weekend, plus you guys weren't even in the same place all week. You're at Amy Park, you're at the netball centre, you're at the golf. You guys were everywhere. But yeah, this episode I want to talk a little bit about assisting and seeing your team and just the vibe and the way you guys work together. You know, I know you guys were overtired and overworked and probably feeling it a bit by the time that I saw you guys on Thursday, but from the outside looking in, it was really a well-oiled machine. You know, like I can only imagine that the reason that you were able to do it the way that you did and then come back home and then jump straight back on a plane and go and do it in, you know, for the, what was it, Airlie Beach and
and
all the other teams like, is just because you can almost do this in your sleep now. That's how efficient you guys were. Maybe let's just start by saying, what's your experience in assisting? Did you do much assisting, working for other photographers?
So I did, yeah. That's kind of how I even got a start to have my first, major client was assisting a bigger photographer, and I did learn a lot, and also at the same time, when you assist someone, your first initial thoughts are, oh, I've got that camera or I've got that lens, I could do this. And I think that's very naive. The guys that I assisted had totally different shooting styles, totally different methods. So it was I'm glad I just didn't think I was better than I was, because I was able to learn and ask questions, and usually, if you're assisting, whoever you're assisting will usually, guide you through what they need or whatever, because everyone has different systems as well. So, it could be as simple as like, putting a stand up, or, changing lenses, or I guess there's so many different levels to assisting as well. It's like data management, um, even scheduling or whatever. I guess the role is so broad for assisting.
Yeah. What sort of shoots were those early ones?
So they were fashion, yeah.
Yeah.
So fashion shoots, and they were using strobes as well. So it was like a mix between outdoor stuff and then a mix between some studio stuff. And both of the guys that in Brisbane, they were pretty big names. So they had different styles. One of the guys, he just shot on I think it was like a 1DX back then, which is maybe 12 megapixels. I'm not yeah. And he pretty much only used his 135 f2, and it's like one of the fastest lenses like made still to date, as in like autofocus capabilities there is like really strong. So he used to shoot on a lot of that, and then he would every now and then just pop one light, in the room, or whatever he needed to do, or at the model, and just his images were beautiful. But he did a lot of retouching, so that was, and I could still to this day I couldn't retouch like he can. So he had that, and then the other guy I assisted was more like natural light, and like me holding bloody big scrims and like trying to be on the beach. Like a lot of it was early city beach days where it was like we'd be shooting bikinis every week, and here I am like I'm not that big of a guy, and I would be holding like my arms are just like, if you hold your arms in the air just like this for 30 seconds, you lose all blood flow. It's just painful. Like, so
let alone battling the wind on a beach.
Exactly. Yeah. It was pretty terrible to do that. But I guess I learned how to bounce light or how to subtract light from him. And again, it was different. So both those guys shot very differently, and then they would even tether as well, which I was like, wow, this is great. Tethering looks great. So I think I learned a lot from those guys. So that was my kind of assisting. It was maybe only for 2 or 3 months really, where it was just a shoot here and there, where I would assist. Yeah.
Yeah. What about vibes on set? Because if you only did it for a few months, I can only assume that was it mainly just for the two different photographers?
Yeah. I didn't, and then I assisted one other guy who was a big commercial photographer, and I was almost just like in the background assisting. He already had other guys doing it. I was more just maybe just there for the day just to learn. Yeah, so that wasn't really assisting. But vibes, I feel are very. I mean, you want to treat your team like you'd want to be treated. So I know in a lot of industries, if someone's classed as a superior, like they just treat you like shit, and that's it. You just got to do what they say. You get paid whatever, and you don't have any input. Whereas I feel the guys that I assisted, if I had some questions or whatever, or even some input, at least they would hear it. But for me, I almost treat everyone is equal. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't want someone to feel like they're just a shit kicker in the room, you know, or
Yeah.
like I just don't want to yell at someone all day. Like it's my job to teach them the knowledge that I have, right? So then
Yeah.
we'll get the best result.
Yeah. So we spoke a little bit about this in person, and to be honest, I think the first time assisting for someone new, it sucks regardless because you don't have a relationship with anyone on set. You don't know their team. You don't know their equipment because everyone uses different types of gear. Everyone uses different like brands and stuff of lighting stands. Like you said, someone might be natural light, someone might be strobes, Broncolor, Pro Photo, Bowens, whatever. To be honest, the first couple of times I think assisting for someone new is just uncomfortable because you just feel, I don't know if you had the same experience as I did, but to be honest, there is a lot of just floating around. And like I still assist every week. You know, when I'm not shooting, I'm assisting at my, 9 to 5 photography job. And I suppose the good thing about that is, we've been working together for so long that I know when to be active and when to be passive. And, it's comfortable. We have a relationship now that it's comfortable, that I'm okay chilling out when I don't need to be used because, from my memories of early assisting with new photographers, and I reckon I've assisted maybe 5 or 6 different photographers, there's just a lot of just very tense, like dead air because it's like, I should be doing something here. Or like you say, sometimes you're second or third assistant, right? And it's just like everyone's got a job and everyone knows each other and everyone's friends on set, but you're a nobody essentially.
And I feel like it's hard to be on set and want to do something, but technically you might not have to do anything. Yeah.
So maybe just while we're on that, I reckon I could give a few things. Would anything come to mind? Let's say you have some kid, photography school, coming to help you out in the shoot. Green as they come. In those spaces of dead air, like what would you say to that person? What tips could you give? What would you be doing?
Again, it's like it depends really on the role, because when you were there, it was like because Joel usually assists me, and it's like some things that you were doing that he doesn't do, that I was like, oh yeah, I should be getting Joel to do this, and like, not that it's like give me less responsibility, but it's like, we could be more efficient if we did, X, Y, Z. So, I mean, generally it's like there's just little things that I'd be like, okay, just make sure my laptop is literally on charge or whatever, on charge. My cable seems to be, just double check it's not disconnecting or whatever, and then watch the image, like study the image well enough to know that okay, there's a light misfiring here or there, or like hey, it's not pulling focus or it's misfocus or misfire. So I think it's more, for me, it's like monitoring what's happening in Capture One. That's where I feel will be the strongest because I want to just be able to shoot and not have to look at the stuff and be confident that I'm getting the shot, So I think it's a lot of assistants maybe don't know when to speak up as well. So it's like if you think something's wrong, at least flag it so then we can fix the issue there. Or if it's not an issue and I know I can get away with a misfire here or there because I've taken 3 images of the same pose, or then we can roll on. But for me, it's like a couple of things that I want out of assistant is like a big thing is like if you grab a lens or you grab something, always put a cap on whatever you're doing, and then always lock and close the bag, because it's just a pet hate of mine. Like those couple of things that, like, I know Alex doesn't do it. He's like, he'll literally leave his bag open. So if someone went to pick it up, all shit would fly everywhere. And then same as lens caps, he doesn't put them back on. It's just whatever. So it's like really, it's not like mistreating gear, but it's just for me, it's like I just don't want there to be an issue where someone picks up a bag and breaks thousands of dollars of equipment, so.
We've all been there, picked up the bag that wasn't zipped up or clipped up.
Yeah,
We've all been there.
exactly.
That is the worst.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, it's no one's fault. It's just like, you just don't want it to happen. So that's like a big thing for me. It's like, hey, if someone came on to set with me, I'd be like, hey, here's the rules. Also, I like to be tidy on set. So it's like, once we've set up or whatever, then we put all the bags back in a bigger bag or whatever and put it to the side of the room so that there's access for anyone. Like there's not, and it just like, it looks neat and professional,
Mm-hmm.
So, and then another thing I would say would be tape down all of like your cords or cables or whatever, so then no one's tripping over it or that nothing really comes loose. Same as the laptop, sometimes I actually like tape it to the desk or wherever it is. So if I went too far with the camera, it wouldn't just pull the monitor off. Yeah. So I mean, there's heaps of things that I guess as an assistant you probably just pick up, or or at least if the photographer tells you some stuff, you kind of remember it, right?
Yeah. Well, that's also an important one. Difficult to do, but if you get asked to do something or if you get shown something, it's pretty important to try and take that on board so you don't need to be asked again.
Exactly.
Easier said than done, but if someone does show you something, listen, write a note in your phone. It seems obvious, but don't the photographer, whoever's leading the shoot often doesn't have time to be explaining something multiple times. I know for a lot of photographers that's a real pet peeve. For
me it's like also I'm happy to talk them through the whole process, like every time, but I don't want to feel like I'm talking down to them either. I'm happy to talk about it. If you didn't get it or whatever, like let's just ask me again.
Yeah.
But I think it's only when people make mistakes is that someone will get angry and be like, hey, I don't want to have to keep telling you the same thing.
Yeah. So where is the line drawn? I know you don't have the personality to, snap at someone or belittle someone, but yeah, like the one that comes to mind is I worked one of the very first assisting jobs I did. I worked with this Sydney photographer who, he thought he was a bit of a big shot, and maybe he was, but just the whole room was just running around scared of this guy. It was just like walking on eggshells. No one wanted to be there. I was third assistant or something. I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have much of a place on the set. It was just like, it was a horrible experience. And the thing that maybe someone like that has forgotten, someone that has gotten too big for their boots like that is, maybe in their frustration, if they lash out an assistant or a gaffer or, a runner or a producer, maybe they do get their message across, but they also make it very uncomfortable for everyone else on set, including the talent, including the client. And no one wants to work in that environment. Like, if I'm a client, I don't want to rebook someone like that who's going to make that, 10-hour shoot and not
torture,
a less than pleasant experience, why would that, I just don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. I understand frustration, and maybe if you have to ask someone again and again and again, maybe, you snap every now and then, but, cruelty, just being mean. I just don't understand that. And I've actually heard from other people the same thing about this Sydney photographer. So, he's obviously known for it. But it affects absolutely everyone.
Yeah, but isn't that the thing? Like, just be a good human. It shouldn't matter what your role is in life. Like, literally, just be a good human. You don't have to blow up or anything. Like, it's literally just a conversation that you can have, and yeah, you want everyone to feel, you know what I mean, like they're comfortable, because no one wants to work with anyone that has that aggression or that, it's almost like not having respect for people either, so, and I know it happens in so many industries, so it's like, I've never been one to like stand for it. If I'd had a boss that was that kind of way, I would always kind of, go against the grain, I guess, because I was just like, well, I don't care if you're my boss and I'm the apprentice. Like, if you need me to do something, just talk to me properly. Like, you don't have to, yell at me in front of all these other guys, or whatever the reason. Yeah, like when I was an apprentice boilermaker, I remember one time there was this guy literally.
What's a boilermaker? Sorry, Kurt.
Just like a welder. Yeah, so like welding. Yeah, so he was one of the tradesmen was like, this far away from my face, like just yelling. He had a hammer in his hand and just threatening me, calling me all the names under the sun, because he was saying that, I can't remember, that I was lazy or something like that. But I was kind of just like more time efficient than him. So I would take longer to get to the start of the job, but I would finish it before him. So anyway, whatever. But he was yelling at me and stuff. And I was just like, well, yeah, what are you doing? Like, we're not going to have a fight here. I'm not, nothing's going to happen. Like, you're literally looking like an idiot. Everyone's seeing you. And there's no need to talk to me like that. If you want me to do something, let's just have a conversation about it. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's logical.
Yeah, so let's bring it back to the what can you be doing on set? Because I had a few that I forgot to mention before. I really like the lens cap thing. I mean, that's easy. Also very self-explanatory. Just clutter on set. If there's something that is not being used and is not, going to be needed for the shoot, just pack it away. Just roll that cable, or zip up that bag, or just tuck it behind a curtain. Like, if you can make the set look better, just no-brainer. I don't think there's going to be anyone. I don't think that's going to get you in trouble. I don't think there's anything that is going to. Yeah, like worst case, you have to get something back out again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's a pretty low risk one. I suppose further to the lens cap thing, maybe you'd need to know the photographer a little bit better. But if I really wanted to look like I was doing something, I would just grab a blower and a lens cloth, and I would just grab the unused lenses out of the kit, and I just had to blow them and just wipe them and just make sure that they're all tip top for when they need to be used. And that might kill 20 minutes of a boring 8-hour day on a repetitive shoot.
Yeah, and if a client sees you doing that, they think, oh yeah, well, we're paying that guy, so it's good that he's doing something. Whereas, if you're just sitting there on your phone or something like that, that's the worst thing you can be doing. I feel like your phone really shouldn't be touched. If you're just sitting there and scrolling or doing whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I think it's different. Maybe on the sets that I try to run, it's like, we do try to grab a bit of BTS or stuff for reels or whatever. So, and I think it's, you get an interaction with the client to understand, if they're comfortable with you doing that as well. So, and some of the shoots have embargo dates where you can't release any of the material you're even shooting that day. So I guess that's a discussion you need to have with the client as well before just posting stuff.
That's a good one though. Not so much for your own Instagram or whatever, but if you don't have that much that you're doing and there's something cool happening on set, shoot a little bit of BTS and send it to the client, because they love that. Like, they love to see themselves on set. And I don't know about the sort of sets that you work on, but the stuff that we do, almost every shoot, there's a lady, it's usually a lady in sort of like that marketing role that will be hovering somewhere, and you better believe she's taking photos constantly of the screen as you're shooting. So like
Always.
if you can like get a little bit of a different perspective or shoot her on set, you know, helping to style something, or, you know, even just a shot of them looking back and just like they're chatting. Like, I feel like the client loves that sort of thing. And then you can just be like, quietly when there's a moment, hey, I took these pics, do you want me to airdrop them to you?
Yeah, exactly,
I feel like that's a pretty easy one. Or even for the photographer. You know, photographers love photos of themselves working. I know I do.
Yeah, for sure. It's because, I just think to non-photographers, like if you take a photo of a set, people are always like, whoa, how big are those lights or whatever it is. So I think it's also good, if you are assisting, that you could take a couple of BTS snaps or whatever for whatever reason. It's going to help you out, right?
Yeah. We've talked... let's just pivot a little bit. We've talked a fair bit about Capture One, I think, on the podcast before. I remember one of the first assisting jobs I did. Are you around like some of the better wedding photographers around the country?
Not really. Like, I think Cara is more. Like, Cara has a bit more research and knows who's good and who's not and stuff like that. But for me, no.
There was a couple that I assisted who used to do commercial and now they do weddings, and in my opinion, they're the best wedding photographers in Melbourne. And I'd never used Capture One before, and it was my job, to digi basically. I was to man the computer. And Daniel, this guy, I remember he said to me very vividly, he said, it's really important that you learn Capture One, because almost every commercial set that you are on is going to be shooting tethered to a computer, and you're going to need to use Capture One. And I sort of remember thinking, I don't know if that's true. Like, I just remember thinking, like, that's, I get it. Like, that's the way you work, and, to work for you guys. And I did. I downloaded Capture One and I started to try and just like get my head around the basics. But I didn't realize how true it actually was, that like everyone, in the sort of professional sphere does use Capture One. So that is one very easy thing that I could say to someone if someone was trying to get into that world, because Capture One offers Capture One Express, which is basically a free version. I think there are some features missing, but all the skeleton is there.
Yeah.
And very easy to just get your head around the different tabs, the different controls, the tools. Yeah. Basically what you're going to be doing, like you sort of mentioned earlier, you're going to be zooming in to check focus. You're going to be making sure the photos are coming through. If you can just get yourself familiar with that sort of basics tab. I know everyone has it set up differently, but the basics tab and then the camera tab, with the settings and the shutter button, maybe, Kurt might be walking around adjusting the light, and he'll say, Peach, can you take one there? So I know I can just hit Command K and snap off a shot, and, can you change the settings? Can you stop down a little bit on that one?
Exactly, yeah. I think that's... For any assistant, I think that's probably the number one thing I would say would be just understand the Capture One interface. And then, secondly, clean up. Thirdly, make sure you know how to properly erect a light stand, because the amount of even photographers that I see, they don't put a light stand up the correct way. Like, for it to be maximized, its engineering on like how to just stand. Like it's just crazy. I'm like, it's not a teepee, so there's that as well. So I mean, it's like they're three strong things. Learn how to put up a tripod properly, or a tripod or a light stand, or even I would say removing and putting soft boxes on as well, because I've seen some assistants like literally take the softbox off the light while the light is still set up, and it's just so dangerous.
So much
Like you could
harder. Yeah.
you could smash the bulb at any second. So it's just really, I mean, yeah, I could easily list 10 things that would be for me. I'd be like, if I see you doing this, I'm not going to yell at you, but I'm going to tell you, the correct way to do it.
That's that's a cool thing though, because you could, in 5 or 10 minutes, you could write down a list of notes on your phone, and anytime you have someone new on your set, you could just, text that to them, and that's just a really quick do's and don'ts, and it's going to make both of your lives easier. So that's not a bad shout. That could be a good, future video,
especially with clients as well. So that way you're not physically talking to the your new assistant and being like, oh look, I've told you this and this. If you had some kind of notes, it would be like, hey, here's a couple of things that I'd look out for, to keep you busy on set, and for us to come across as the most professional that we can, for the client. Because at the end of the day, you're there to impress the client. It doesn't really matter what happens between you two. It's like you just need to be on the same page, so then you can come across like as the strongest you possibly can.
Yeah. The only other thing I can think of off the top of my head is, again, it sounds obvious and it's harder to do in reality, but you just have to be thinking, if I'm working with Kurt, I have to be thinking, what would Kurt want next? Like, before you think of it, trying to think of what you want before you think of it. So like
that's it. Hey, and I think that is a big thing as well. It's like, hey, I need you to know what I'm about to tell you before I tell you. Yeah. And I think but that probably only comes with experience, and then also knowing the photographer, because how am I meant to know that, whatever it is, that if we change lighting setups, you're going to want this or that. Or how am I meant to know that when we're shooting a different product that you're going to stop up or down? Like, so I guess, yeah, the more experience you have with a certain photographer, then you're going to know those things.
True.
Yeah. It's like Joel knows like exactly how to set up something that I want to set up, because he's done it that many times and I've taught him. So now he can just go, yep, these are the settings, this is what I need to do. Even though, if he shoots something, he might shoot it totally different. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But at least he understands how I want things to look,
Yeah. But even just the practice, even if you don't know exactly what someone wants, the practice of just trying to demonstrate that you're thinking that way.
Proactive.
Just like, if you know that there's a shot coming up with an overhead setup, get a couple stands out, set up a crossbar, clamp the tripod head on, it's funny that, and it's the same thing goes as a photographer as well. Half of the job is showing the client that you're doing a good job rather than actually doing a good job. Like, I'm sure, for example, like you're shooting a wedding, right? I'm sure basically, let's say ceremony's done, you're just shooting the reception after that. You could get those shots in the first hour, right? But you're still walking around for the next 3 hours. Basically, it's a performance, right? Every time someone looks up, every time the bride and groom look up, there you go, I'm taking another shot.
Exactly.
You don't need all those shots. But it's the same thing as an assistant. It's just like, okay, yes, maybe I'm not required right now. Maybe it's not completely necessary for me to be polishing all these lenses, but it's just like you said, we're impressing the client, but also the photographer, and I'm just showing that I'm being proactive, taking initiative, and I'm showing that I'm worth my paycheck.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's a good place to end for this episode. Throwing you on the spot. Tool of the week. You got anything?
Tool of the week.
I can go first.
To be honest, you can have a go.
I've missed the last couple of tools of the week, so I wanted to make sure to have one prepared for this session. This is a funny little one, but there's a YouTuber that I've found recently regarding cool Fuji content, X100V content, and his name is Faizal Westcott. I think he's from Boston, and I bought one of his LUTs. It's such a small thing. I think it was like $20 or $30 or whatever. And I've loaded it onto my Atomos, and he made it so easy on his website. I just really like the look and feel of his videos, and he basically just describes on his website, on his videos, he's like, okay, this is what you got to do. Shoot S-Log3, overexposed by 2 stops, and use this LUT. And the LUT's called the One and Only, and it pretty much, I've used it for a few weeks, and it pretty much just works. If you set it up that way, it just works. And I've been fiddling a little bit with it, but I really like it, and it was well worth the $30 or whatever I spent on it. So that's my tool of the week this week.
Well, even if it just gives you more understanding on what he's done as well, and it's working, you can tweak it slightly, and then I guess the more you shoot with that LUT in mind, the more that you probably understand a little bit more about how to get the most out of it as well. Yeah,
and just really interesting. I've never shot with a LUT on the monitor before, so I can actually see how the final product is going to look. I always just shoot and then just figure it out later.
That's really cool.
Got anything?
So my tool of the week is, it's actually part of the very first Rode Wireless Go things. So this is like an interview mic setup. So it's just got your windshield, but your actual Rode Go goes into this. It just literally clips on, like Brilliant. It's almost like a cold shoe mount. And it's helped me out on a bunch of different stuff, where especially through COVID, where maybe you couldn't mic someone up properly because player restrictions and stuff like that. So you could literally just chuck it on this, and then they could just hold it and actually use it as a proper mic. But I mean, it's inexpensive, and you're not having to bring a whole separate wireless mic like back in the day. You used to have 2 different kind of setups if you wanted to incorporate something like this, whereas you just use the same Rode Wireless Go, and then you've got it. So I think it's handy. Like,
it's brilliant.
And I feel like Rode are very forward thinking with a lot of their stuff. I just think everything they do is really, it's just good quality, and it's something that you need, but you didn't realize until they bring it out, and then you're like, oh, that would save me this hassle or this hassle. So, and they also have a magnet as well that I stick to mics at weddings, where you can put the Rode Go just with the little fluffy thing, and it's awesome. That way,
beautiful.
You've got a better audio source as well. So, yeah.
The Wireless Go kit is so good. Like, for years and years and years, I just wanted something where you could record 2 different wireless inputs at once. I don't know how it took so long for it to be made, but then Rode made it, and now there's 100 companies doing it, literally.
Yeah.
So, big fan of Rode. Big fan, we're pretty lucky. There's some really good Australian brands, on the scene. Blackmagic, Rode, and Atomos. Some pretty world-class products in that list. And that's it for another week. Thank you so much, mate. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. This is probably the last podcast I'll do before I'm a dad.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Actually, we maybe not, because I think we're going to record another one after this. But, by the time that one comes out, I'll be a dad already. But thank you again for joining me, mate. If you've enjoyed this, the best thing you can do to support the podcast is just give us a thumbs up, leave a thoughtful comment below, and hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.